What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and today I have sort of a different type of video and a shorter type of video. As you can probably guess if you've been paying attention, I'm wearing the same shirt that I was in yesterday's video, and that's because these are all being pre-recorded before the NAWCQ, which at the time this is going up, it'll actually be day one on Saturday, which is very exciting. Anyway, in today's video, I want to show you 5 Yu-Gi-Oh videos that I feel that you guys probably should watch, especially if you're someone that is just getting into competitive play, or someone that has been playing competitively for like a couple months or a year and you haven't quite gotten your first regional invite or first regional top. I feel that this is my primary competitive audience, as a lot of people come up to me and say, well, your videos have helped me get my invite, or I'll help people come up to me and say, I just started watching you, what are some videos I should watch to help me become a more competitive player? And while I could sit around here and talk about my own videos, I want to show videos from 5 other people, well, I guess technically just 3 people, but 5 videos from people that aren't me that you definitely should watch if you're trying to get into a more competitive mindset. I stand by all of these videos and I'll kind of give you a brief summary of them and also a short clip of all of them. These are all made by good people and they're good content, so I highly recommend checking them out if you're interested in becoming a more competitive player. The first video is called 5 Reasons Why You're Still Losing, and this was made by my friend Alex, and he does an excellent job at really communicating to competitive players or early competitive players that some of the ways that some people might be losing that they weren't previously thinking of. I think actually in most of the cases in that video, I've actually made entire videos just by sheer chance talking about the things that he's talking about, but if you don't have a whole hour to watch all of my video analysis on these, he does a really good job at just fitting it into one single video. There's a bunch of clips in this that are super valuable for you to watch, but you probably should just watch the entire video, so I'm just going to show you one of my favorite clips that comes around the halfway point in the video.
Rather than focusing on something that didn't happen, in this case, one turn that never seemed to come up, focus on what did happen. When you're playing a game or a match and you think to yourself, if I had one more turn, think about the events that transpired over the course of that game, or even that match if it went down to the very end. Think about when you played certain cards, or when you were presented with a situation where you had several lines of play, but you chose to go with one line of play when you had other options in front of you.
And we'll stay with Alex for the second video that I'm going to be showcasing, and this is called 100 Yu-Gi-Oh! Terms You Should Know. Now, admittedly, you might be asking yourself, well, wait a second, Dzeeff, didn't you do a video on Yu-Gi-Oh! Terms? I did technically do a video a couple months before this, but it was way worse. It only had about 10 to 15 terms in it. It was never like my idea to do 100 terms in one video, but it's perfect. Like, when I felt when I was making my video that I wasn't covering enough ground in that one entry, but Simo here fit in 100 Yu-Gi-Oh! Terms into one video. This is super helpful, and I get these questions all the time. I'll mention things, I'll say things like, oh yeah, this is a Rhoda, or this is a Stratos, or this is a Monster Reborn type card, or Debris Dragon. All these terms, Garnet is one that comes up a lot, or Brick. All these things that I say in videos, I don't find the need to really explain them because a lot of people just know what they mean. But if you're one of those players that maybe doesn't know what all of those phrases are, or all of those individual words mean in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Context, this is definitely a video to check out in your spare time, just so you have a better understanding of what people are actually talking about in their videos.
Referring to Gem Knight Garnet, a card that is a mandatory engine requirement but is nearly worthless when in the hand.
And then we switch gears a lot because Farfa made a video. He made a couple videos that I really stand by. There are a lot of the stick figure videos from a couple years ago, but my favorite is the one about the scrub mentality. And admittedly, this is a harsh video to watch. It's a lot of harsh truths. I've said a lot of these things sort of dispersed throughout a lot of my videos, but I haven't really sat down and made an entire video about it. And also, it is worth mentioning, if you don't like swear words, you probably shouldn't watch this video because there are a lot of them in there. I know I don't really use those on my own channel. They show up in live streams, but as far as my own channel goes, those don't really pop up in videos normally, so if you're not ready for those, if you don't like that sort of content, don't watch this. But overall, if you're trying to learn, this is like a more harsh reality version of that first video that I talked about. There are so many different things that he really hits the nail on the head here, and I just love this discussion. I wish he did these stick figure videos still. He does sort of different content these days, but a lot of these were just really classics in my mind and absolutely mandatory watches videos if you're someone that's trying to get that first invite, because kind of like a lot of my videos, this video seems pretty pointed at the players that are like not going to tournaments but maybe want to go to tournaments, and sort of identifying some of the ways that they can improve themselves, although it does have a more of a comedic tone.
Casual is a time-temporal issue, not a question of competency. You can be a casual competitive player. Scrubs, however, are shit players. I don't mean shit players like me who are just like bad at the game. I mean shit players who are bad at the game, don't realize it, and they try justifies their shitness. Scrubs typically have delusional senses of grandeur and think they know better and think they're better than they actually are. Or at the very least, are objectively bad players but don't want to do anything about it, like trying to learn and get better.
And then I wasn't gonna put this one on here. This is also by Farfa, and I didn't mean to like double up on two of the entries here, but this is a video that's called Yu-Gi-Oh! Takes No Skill, Why Asian Eyes' Awful Arguments Are Wrong About Everything and More. And what's funny is that I don't think this video is worth watching because of the discussion about Asian Eyes and specifically going against his arguments. It's actually, if you look at that entire title, it's the and more part that I'm more interested in, because in a lot of this video, he's not just answering or arguing with Asian Eyes, he's actually talking about some of the bad arguments that casual players might make to justify that basically that competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Is skillless. Because I even see his comments in my own videos, how can it take skill to win when you're just putting out a bunch of negates and your opponent can't play the game at all? That is such horrible logic, and I really don't understand how people come up with that. It's mostly coming from people who don't play the game. You always get people that are sort of like, they're sitting on their couch at home as the YCS finals is taking place. There's a misplay in the finals, and they're at their couch eating some popcorn, drinking a beer, and they're saying, oh, I could have done better in the finals, but you're at home, you're not at the tournament, and that's sort of part of the discussion in that video. So like I said, I don't necessarily think that the Asian Eyes part of that video, that he's sort of addressing that other content creator, I don't know if that has really aged well. I don't know if it's super necessary to the discussion. I mean, it was at the time, but I think the reason I like this video more so is the discussion outside of just talking about Asian Eyes White Dragon and his argument.
I'd like to highlight an informal logical fallacy here for all of you to understand, as it's a recurring theme throughout all of his arguments. It's called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, aka the clustering illusion. The Texas sharpshooter fallacy is basically a gunman fires shots at the side of a barn randomly and then paints a target around the tightest cluster of bullet holes and claims he's an expert marksman, when in reality he's just pulling the trigger and firing it off randomly. The fallacy occurs when a person has a large amount of data at their disposal but only focuses on a small subset of that data. This is the vast majority of this guy's arguments from beginning to end. One misplay at YCS Liverpool, one or two degenerate FTK decks that managed to top a couple of times out of the hundreds of formats, decks, sets, lists and events we've had, and this guy draws on the example of like 3 to 4.
And the last video is titled Regional Preparation Tips to Help You Get That Invite, and that is really cool. It was made by MST TV, Tombox, and this video is fantastic. Tombox is an awesome content creator. He has a lot of ruling knowledge that I don't necessarily have. He is a judge after all, so I definitely check him out. He's a very underrated person in the community. I love his channel though. I've gone there for so many rulings, it's absolutely insane, and actually maybe it's a little bit late at the time that this video is going up, but he had an excellent video about rulings that you should know for the WCQ season. I really like to talk about deck expectations. I feel like that was my favorite part of this video, but overall just a lot of good stuff in this like 15-minute video discussion about how you can hopefully get that first invite.
If you are playing a rogue deck, and I know that not everyone's able to afford a meta deck, but you still want to play at a competitive level where you can still get your invite, that is very much possible. It's just that you have to work harder in the other categories. And the thing that you have to ask yourself is this: how do I beat the other meta decks? That's something you have to ask yourself. You need to have a clear, concise win condition against each one, and you need to know how to handle the matchup, because it's different between different games, different decks, but that's what you have to ask. And if you come up with the answer where you're not able to beat them most of the time, or even if you open with a god hand, they are capable of breaking your board, beating you, even though you have some of the best opening, then that deck might not be the most optimal choice. You can go in there and have fun with it, but you shouldn't really expect to get your invite through that.
At the end of the day, it's important to note that even if you're a fan of one or two major channels, you can go elsewhere for tips. Even if you like my content and they really help you out playing competitively, if it's not quite getting there, maybe having someone else explain it, like Simo or Farfa or MST TV, that might help you out more than just watching my videos on old Yu-Gi-Oh history. One of the great things things about YouTube and YugiTubing is that there's basically infinite amounts of channels and videos that you can go to help yourself get that first invite or get that first regional top or first YCS top. That's one of the great things about this platform. If you aren't understanding how someone says something, maybe another channel will explain it a little bit differently in a way that you can better understand to help yourself become a more competent player. All of these channels are great. MST TV, Farfa, Simo, and there's so many more out there that I can't just fit into one video discussion. All sorts of people have their own perspectives on what the best way to get that first invite is in Yu-Gi-Oh! And looking out there for those other channels is a great way to improve yourself as a player in Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway though, thank you guys so much for watching today's discussion video on these 5 videos I feel everyone should watch if they're trying to become more competitive. I stand by all of them and they have lots of great advice for people that are trying to get that first invite. I'll see you later though. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.